You have joined the First Class Pre-K Funding webinar with Mayor Stephen Reed and the Alabama School Readiness Alliance. Today, we are going to walk you through how to apply for Alabama First Class Pre-K funding. And we have Pamela Truelove Walker, who is with the Department of Early Childhood Education, who is going to answer all of your questions. I hope that you've already started to apply for your first class pre-K grant, or at least gone to the website children.alabama.gov to take a look at the program, read through the program guidelines. I'm very excited to share that just this week, the Alabama First Class Pre-K program was recognized for the 15th year in a row as the nation's #1 state preschool program for quality. Dr. Truelove Walker from the Department of Early Childhood Education, wave hello. She is going to be talking about kind of, as you go through the grant application, what those quality standards are and how getting a first class pre-K grant can enhance the quality of your existing 4-year-old classroom, or allow you to expand access to 4-year-olds who wouldn't have otherwise had the opportunity to attend. And that is so, so important to do here in Montgomery. I see that Mayor Reed has joined us. Thank you so much. You can go ahead and unmute yourself. And we would love to hear some welcome remarks from you before we get into the details with Dr. Truelove Walker on the First Class Pre-K grant. Thank you for your leadership. It's been an honor serving on your Education Transition Committee and your stakeholders group. And I appreciate how you've done all the cheerleading and the leadership for the funding for Montgomery Public Schools. I truly think it's a new day in Montgomery when it comes to what we can do for our children and for our public education system. And we're going to work together with you and everyone here on this call to make sure that students entering MPS are ready. So thank you for your commitment to that, Mayor Reed, and please let us hear from you.
Thanks, Allison. I appreciate that. One of the things I want to share is that, none of this can be done alone. So I'm grateful to have partners like you who helped us from the transition side all the way through some of the education task force that we've had. We're just coming from Johnny Carr Middle School. We made a big announcement about Apple Ed Farm coming here. It's a highly competitive, highly selective opportunity for us. And I think it's a testament to what you and so many others in our education community have known was here, which is our potential. And now we're trying to harness that through public-private partnerships and through direct investment as well. And it's great to be on with everyone. And, I think having so many potential providers who are looking at state grants to support their programs is important, because right now, we realize there's going to be a lot of federal dollars coming to the state. We want to make sure that we maximize those dollars and we maximize this opportunity, because if we don't, it may be quite some time before we see something like this happen again. And I know that, Allison, through your work in hosting this webinar, we're bringing more information to people that really need to hear about some of the things that are taking place, how they can maximize and take advantage of it, and then how it's going to benefit the community. So from my side here as Mayor Montgomery, but I think more importantly, speaking for mayors across the state, we know the importance of high quality pre-K. It's something that is really a major issue for us to continue to champion, for us to invest in. And we want that to be a cost differentiator for us in terms of when people look at the city of Montgomery. We want that to be a competitive advantage. And so we're doing it because we know that it has tremendous educational outcomes, beneficial outcomes for those that are part of this. My kids were part of it. I would want any other kid to have exactly what my kids had. And we know it's also key to the vitality of this community. So it has an economic correlation there too. And so we can't just invest in pre-K and not invest in K through 5 or K through 6 and then kind of your middle schools and on in high schools. We have to do the entire system of education, and that's what we're dealing with right now. So I'm glad to have leaders like you, and to have so many that have joined this call, who are participating in this webinar, that want to learn more about it. And I know that there are folks from my church to my neighborhood to just my circle who are trying to learn more and trying to find out, because they too understand the importance of bringing high quality pre-K to our residents and to the young children in Montgomery. And I really hope that there's a time when we look across the landscape here in Montgomery and we said, you know what? We have done everything that we can do. We have saturated Montgomery with high quality pre-K. Every kid who wants to be enrolled can be enrolled. And then we can see those benefits come out in our elementary numbers, in our middle school numbers, and then our high school numbers and so forth. And that's what this is about. It's about playing that foundation and making sure that from the city side, you all know that there's a partner here. There's a champion here that believes in what you're doing. And we're going to do everything that we can to make that possible and to make that work. And so just want to thank you, Allison, for working with Phil Ensler on my staff and working with us as an administration to help move this along as a community. And just know that we're here for everybody that's on this call, and to do whatever we can to support and champion this initiative.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And I know you've got lots of appointments to get to today, but before you do leave and we move on to Dr. Truelove Walker's presentation, I just want to let everyone here know that, we have 60 pre-K classrooms already in Montgomery, but we need 50 more classrooms in order to reach at least 70% of 4-year-olds, not even all 4-year-olds, but 70%, which is that target tipping point that we're looking for, to where all children will be coming ready for school, whether they were in first class pre-K or another high quality environment. We just do not want to have to turn away families who want their children to enroll, which is happening right now. And in fact, I think one of the Montgomery sites, Faulkner, and Dr. Truelove Walker can tell you, on Atlanta Highway, they have a long waiting list of more than 100 students just for that one site. So if you're located anywhere near the intersection of Atlanta and Eastern, you need to be applying for this grant. And, I've done some work with the mayor and his staff to show them that this is achievable over the remaining 3 years in his term. This is achievable. It's going to take local funds, state funds, federal funds, funds from Montgomery Public Schools, and it's going to take churches and others matching and supporting this and wrapping our arms around this so that no child is turned away. And imagine when all children are coming ready for kindergarten, how that's going to change the game for education in Montgomery, how they'll be reading proficiently at 3rd grade, graduating from high school, participating in all the enrichment programs that are coming with the support of Apple and other companies. So thank you for being on, and thank you, Mayor, and to all of your staff. And I look forward to hearing from Dr. Truelove Walker next. And I'd like for her to go a little bit over just kind of the basics of the program, and then walk you through the grant application, and go ahead and keep adding your questions to the chat. Thank you.
Thanks, Allison. Thanks, Dr. Truelove Walker, for all that you're doing. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Mayor.
So without further ado, I'll throw it to Dr. Truelove Walker. I'm going to minimize my video, and we will get started. And please do ask your questions throughout.
This is an exciting time in early childhood. We have lots and lots of investment dollars that are going into the early years. I think the COVID-19 pandemic has really highlighted the importance of early learning, the importance of funding early learning experiences for young children. And I think that first class pre-K has shown over the last 15 years what impact quality early learning environments really have for young children. So when we do that, we're talking about individuals who have children who have experienced first class pre-K. They have higher benchmarks in reading. They have higher benchmarks in math. they're less likely to be retained in school, less likely to need special education services in those K-5 years. And so we're really excited about the long-term outcomes and the long-term benefits. We often think about the early years. It's not just the early years, but actually a pipeline from the early years to workforce. Because we do know that not only are we providing opportunities for children to develop those soft skills that employers are actually looking for in their employees, we're talking about the persistence and the initiative and the creativity and the capacity to ask questions and to be creative thinkers. All those things that employers are looking for, those are the things that we focus on in the early years to make sure that children are actually ready then for kindergarten and ready for those school readiness. They're actually benchmarking in those school readiness skills. And so we like to think of this, like I said, as the beginning foundations of what happens the early years, actually all the way through workforce development. And our research bears that out. Children who attend first class pre-K do not experience all of even the fade out. The benefits of first class pre-K they do not fade out once children actually enter the elementary school year. So we are excited about what first class pre-K offers for the children throughout the state. And we're excited for this opportunity that is existing right here in Montgomery. Montgomery has the opportunity to invest in its children and is excited about investing in children. And we're excited about the opportunity to provide support for those of you who are on this webinar and for those of you who know individuals who you will be taking this information to. So what we wanted to do is to explore what this opportunity means. I see we have some faith-based providers here. We have some private child care providers here. We have some family child care providers here. So I'm very excited about that. And so we're gonna really just walk you through literally what it requires to go in, take a look, log in, create your application dashboard, and then hopefully get to the point where you actually hit submit. So I tell people all the time that we're excited for people who log in, we're excited for people who begin the draft, but we want to be available for you so that at the end of this process, you're in a position where you actually click the word submit. We are excited that currently our funding request is making its way through all of the processes that needs to happen. And currently we are still at the funding level that we have requested from the governor's office. So that's very exciting. But what that means is if we are going to receive all the funding that we have requested for first class pre-K, we need to be in a position to have individuals like you that we give those funds to. I tell people all the time, we don't request those funds to keep the money. We request those funds so that we can put it in your coffer, so that we can put it in your hand, and then we're able to provide you with the necessary supports so that children in your communities have this first class pre-K learning opportunity. I'm going to take just a minute here to share the screen, to share my screen, so that you will actually have an opportunity to literally, I'm going to walk you step by step through how you access the application from our website and what that all requires. So when you log into our website at children.alabama.gov, we ask you to go all the way down till you see the little boy in the green shirt. So look for the green shirt and then click on this. When you click on that icon, it will take you to our landing page where you actually then will submit or begin the process of establishing your account to apply for first class pre-K. So this will take you to a system called Founded, and Founded is our grant management system. If you have previously logged in, you will put your email address in here, and then you will enter your password. If this is your first time logging in, you will enter your email address, and then you will actually click Create New Account. And then when you go to the Create New Account screen, it will give you an opportunity there to put in your password. If you log in, if you put your email address in here and it says that there is already an account that has been generated and you do not know the password, you can click here on forgot your password, and then you will be able to actually reset it. Once you have actually then created your account, when you've successfully logged in, you will be on the applicant dashboard. When you get on the applicant dashboard, at the top left corner is going to be the word apply. Now, the applicant dashboard will show you all of your information. So this right here is just a made-up organization that we have created for this presentation. But you will have your applicant name, your email address, your phone number, as well as your own address will be right here, and the name of your organization. So all of this information will be in right here. If your organization information does not appear correct, then you will send us an email, and then we will be able to actually update this information for you. But don't worry about that necessarily at this stage. You can still go through, it's still going to save your information. That's just giving us an updated contact. That will just give us an updated contact information. At the top left corner, you will see the word apply. This is where you will actually begin the process of taking a look at the application itself. The 2021 first class funding, which is what this is called, will be in the list of all the open applications. So if you scroll down after you have hit the word apply, you will see where it says 2021 first class funding, and this is the application. So over on the right side, there is going to be the word apply again. And so this is where you will click on apply. And then once you click on that word apply, you will actually then go into the dashboard that will show you the list of all the questions that are actually a part of the application. And I'm going to show you what the actual application looks like. Once you hit the word apply, it's going to actually open you up to this screen, which will have all of the questions on it for the first class pre-K funding application. All of this information is required. Your vendor customer number, your address code. And please note that when you get on this page for additional things that you need information about, so if you don't know your address code, there is a link on here that you will actually be able to verify your address code with. Your organization DUNS number. So for people who may not know what that number is, we've put this link in here and you can actually look up that number, and all of these are actual URL links. So you'll be able to click directly on those while you're completing your application, and it will take you to information where you can actually look up what your DUNS number is. Payment start. Then we ask you information about how you would like to receive payment. Let me go back up here to So for individuals who, before you're able to actually receive monies or information for payments from us or from the state of Alabama, you have to actually have a STARS account. So we require that you actually go in STARS and actually apply for your vendor code. You have to have a vendor code before you can actually receive funds from our department. However, if you do not have a vendor code, do not let that prevent you from actually submitting this application, because you can actually submit this application. You can put zeros off in this number, and then once you actually get your vendor code, then you can contact us and give us your updated vendor code. So sometimes people, if you've received payments from the state already, you already have a vendor code. But if you do not have a vendor code, you can put zeros in this line item and then apply for your vendor code. We will just need that. And so before we actually able to issue you your first payment. So do not allow that to stop you from hitting submit. Because sometimes people get there and go, oh, I don't have that. Will I have it in time before the application closes out? And so that's just a heads up that you do not have to have that before you actually submit this application. There's information about how you would like for your payment to be started. And then the rest of the application is I call it simple, but sometimes it can be a little intimidating for individuals, particularly if you've never applied for or never completed a funding application before. So this is just a description of your organization, your history, mission, and vision of the program. We ask you to tell us a little bit about whether or not you're applying for funds to help you update the quality or upgrade the quality or enhance the quality of an existing classroom, or if you are applying for a new first class pre-K classroom altogether. So typically individuals who are wanting to upgrade an existing or enhance an existing classroom may apply for what we call an excellence funding, which is $46,800. But for those of you who are wanting to apply for your first ever first class pre-K classroom, then that funding is up to $120,000. So that will be the classroom type that you would be putting in here, and that will be a new classroom. Then you would give us information about your facility. You will answer whether or not your facility is licensed by DHR. Licensure by DHR is required in order for you to be a first class pre-K program. If you are in the process of becoming licensed, you can still submit this application. You can indicate no here that you're not currently licensed, because we do know that if you are in process, that also can happen before you're actually awarded this grant. So if you're in the process, you can check no right here, but you're still able to submit this, and we will work with you in order for you to receive your licensure from DHR. Accreditation information, if you're accredited by NACE or NAC or some other organization, you'll put that information there. If you're receiving Title I funds, this is typically for our LEAs, but if you're receiving Title I funds, then you would know whether or not you were receiving these funds. So we asked you about that information as well. And if there are any other pre-K programs or pre-K initiatives that are in your community, we ask you about that information as well. Administration of the classroom, who's going to be administering the classroom, the funding amount that you are seeking. We do ask you if there is the opportunity for you to receive an alternate funding request, that you tell us what that is, but that is not required for submission either. The county in which you are located, we ask that question, address information, and now we come down to the actual question portion of the funding application. These each are worth a point value or assigned a point value. And I will say that we do take these funding applications and we send them to an external evaluator who will then kind of rank all the information that has been submitted, compile that information, and then send that information back to us. So for the overview section, it's worth 10 points. And then for child selection, we ask you how you're going to recruit students to ensure that there is socioeconomic diversity of students in the classroom. And typically what we're looking for right here is that you're just going to make sure that there are many modes in which you use to make people aware that there is a first class pre-K funding opportunity available for them in your area. So it could be that you put the information out on social media, we have some people who put information in grocery stores or with health departments or with pediatrician offices, but we just want to see that there is a variety of ways in which you've made information available to a diverse group of people about first class pre-K. Services for students with special needs and or dual language learners, how you provide information for and support for these individuals who are part of these special populations. And then we ask you to upload photos of your classroom or the proposed classroom. There is a 35 square foot per child space requirement for your classroom. So we ask that you measure your classroom to ensure that it is in compliance with the 35 square foot required for children to be in the classroom. If you are uncertain or unsure about whether or not your classroom meets this requirement, provide you with the contact information for your region director. We will come out and we will measure your classroom space. So we have region directors and monitors who will gladly come out and provide you with assistance. And we have had opportunities where we've gone out, somebody thought the classroom space was appropriate enough, but it was a little smaller. And we kind of looked at the classroom next door and said, what about this classroom? Is this an availability? Is this a possibility? And then right there, we've just switched the location of the classroom. We really want you to be successful in submitting your application, and we want to help you with that process. And so if you contact us, Marcia Jackson is the region director for Region 6. We will gladly come out and make arrangements to provide you with assistance in locating or ensuring that your classroom size actually meets requirements. And then we ask you to upload a classroom photo. It doesn't matter what the classroom looks like when you upload that photo. So sometimes people think they have to set the classroom up, but remember, you're applying to become first class pre-K. So we will then be providing you with the funds necessary for the classroom to have everything in it that is required for the classroom. We've had some people upload construction sites because there were areas that were under construction at the time that they submitted their application. So whatever that classroom looks like, don't feel like you have to get it ready in order to upload the photo. Take a picture of the classroom environment as is and upload the photo. Really, we're just looking for the number of square feet just to make sure that the classroom is large enough for the children. The same is true with your playground. We are looking for 60 square foot of space per child. For your playground area, we're looking for a fenced-in location. If you do not have an existing playground and you have a space that you have identified as to where you will put the playground, take a picture of that. You'll be able to tell us that in the narrative portion that my playground is not ready yet. This is where I anticipate the playground will be. And that information is okay as well. So you will upload those photos. There are only limited spaces in here for you to upload photos. If you would like to upload more photos, you would like to take more pictures than the upload is allowed, you can take the pictures, place those pictures on a Word document, and then you can upload the Word document. And that will give us the opportunity to see multiple pictures. So if you wanted to then show us a picture of the sinks, or show us a picture of the water fountain, or show us the picture of the toilet area, or whatever, you can take those pictures, put all those on one Word document, and then upload that as you're showing us pictures of your facility. The same is true with the playground. If you have multiple angles, or if your playground space turns a corner and you can't get all the pictures in there, you can take multiple pictures, put those on a Word document, and then upload that information there. Meals and snacks. How do you plan to provide and serve nutritious meals and snacks? Most individuals are utilizing USDA, so you're utilizing the child nutrition program. And so you will tell us that. We automatically know when you tell us that you are actually using the USDA food program, that those meals have to be well balanced, that they're low in fat, they're low in sugar, they're low in salt. And so you're just telling us about those programming. We also ask you to provide a sample 1-week menu. You do not have to recreate another menu. If you're using this, you already have to do menus for USDA. You can just take a copy of one of the menus that you've already done and recopy that information straight into this profile here, into this application profile. We ask you, and so that's that section. That entire section is worth 10 points. And then we ask you about the person who's going to be actually administering first class pre-K classrooms. So it could be you, it could be the director, it could be the program owner, it could be a fiscal person that's separate, but whoever's going to be administering the first class pre-K program, we ask you information about their qualifications and any prior experience that they've had. Do not feel like because we ask for education and certification and credentials and curriculum and training and workshops, we ask for all the information. Don't think that the person that you're putting in this position is required to have a doctorate or a master's degree. Put in whatever credentials it is that they've had, that they do have. They could have a CDA, they could have an associate's degree in child development, they could have a bachelor's degree, just whatever that information is, and whatever training experiences or workshops, professional development experiences, you can put that in there, but please note that it is limited to 1,000 words. So you want to just kind of pick and choose the information that you put there. And then we ask for the contact information for that person. The instructional practice, this part is important because it's telling us how you already conduct or do things in your early learning environments. So we ask you about that. But I will say this, the Alabama Standards for Early Learning and Development is what we use to guide all of the instructional practices that we then require that teachers actually implement in the classroom for young children. So when you are on this document here, in this application, it mentions the ACEL document. So that's the shortened version for Alabama Standards for Early Learning and Development. We call it the ACELs. And you can click on it, like it says, by clicking here. When you click here, it will actually take you to this ACEL document. This ACEL document will provide you with the information that we are looking for in this overview of instructional practices. And literally, it's section by section. So if you're going through the ACEL,
put it into the chat. I just put the link into the chat, Dr. Trulove Walker, so that they can go ahead, and I'm sure most of them are already following those standards, but so that you can have them, you know, as you're preparing your application.
Thank you, Allison. And I can't see the chat. So so if you're asking questions or there's anything in there, then I will need somebody to kind of like stop and tell me that, hey, you have a question that's come up in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do that for you. And I also often send people to the first class pre-K guidelines. There's classroom guidelines and there's program guidelines. I've popped that into the chat as well. And I just recommend going through those, studying those, if you're even interested in exploring. And maybe you just take this year to read those, to contact the regional director, Marcia Jackson, and get her out to your site, and you kind of lay the groundwork this year, and then you can even apply next year. I mean, this is not just a one-time opportunity. We will be advocating for increases every year in funding for the program from the state until it's fully funded.
That part is true. But I will also say this, that even though there's all this information that we are talking about, and some of this may be overwhelming, we are here to provide you with individualized support. So if you will reach out and you will call and you will say, I'm right here, I'm filling out this application, I'm stuck on what I should put here. Tammy Gibson, who is our HR manager, Gay Finn, who is our assistant director of the Office of School Readiness, or even we're happy to provide you with assistance and guidance in actually completing this funding application. Again, as I said, we want you to be successful. We want the children in Montgomery County to have these experiences. And this is, as Mary has said, we have a wonderful opportunity. We've received lots and lots of funds that are coming down, and we're trying to braid all these funds and get your area to that 70th percentile, where there is at least 70% access for children who would like, children and their families who would like for them to have a first class pre-K experience. So then we ask you these questions about how you engage family, social emotional development, social studies. Again, all of this information is a walkthrough in that ACELS document, and the link to that Allison has put in the chat. So I do encourage you to click on that, go down through there. It will even give you examples of what it is that we anticipate children will be doing if they're actually working with students in each one of these areas. So you can take a look at that. And if those are things that you are doing in your classroom, and you can say, yes, this is what we're doing. If there are things that you're not currently doing in your classroom, but you know that you can do those things, you can even put that in your writing and say that, you know, currently in language and literacy, we do these things, but we also see that these things are important, and we will start to incorporate those into our program as a part of first class pre-K. And I know that you will be able to do that because we also provide coaching support. So anybody who then is funded for first class pre-K will have a coach who will work with the teachers to ensure that best practices and developmentally appropriate practices are actually implemented in the classroom. So you'll have an opportunity to do that as well. And then we get down to the section that is worth the most points. the most points, and that is evidence of need. And that is showing that first class pre-K is actually needed in your area. So information like Allison shared earlier, where there are programs like Faulkner University that literally has 100 or more students on its wait list every single year. That's an opportunity to indicate that there is a need, because we have children who are in those areas who are not receiving services. If you do not have a first class pre-K, even within your area, so if you're in a part of the city that doesn't have first class pre-K at all within a certain geographic location, then you will want to say that. If you know that in your school system, that you have children who feed into a school that perhaps has been on the failing school list, or perhaps that receives a annual report card score of a C or a D, then we want to make sure that we have children who are actually school ready, ready to learn by the time they get to kindergarten, so that then they're helping to support the foundational levels of actually having individuals there who then can carry on into kindergarten, first and second grade, and build the foundation for children then who are going to be proficient and academically successful through their elementary school years and even beyond. And then we give you access to these organizations that can potentially provide you with some additional data about your geographic locations. And so then there are other things here, other variables here that we've listed that will be indicators that will point to the need for first class pre-K in your area, like the employment rate or the crime rate, the graduation rate, third grade reading scores, all of that information. So that's what we're putting there. I would also like to make a note that in some of these areas, you see a character limit. And sometimes when individuals start writing, they feel like that because the character limit is there, that they must write that many, they must put that many characters into that particular box in order for you to actually answer the question. If you have completed answering the question, don't feel like that you just have to keep adding more words because there is a character limit there. There's a character limit there, of course, because we want you to be able to put all the information that you want to share, but don't want you to feel like you just have to go on and on and on and on if you've actually satisfied answering the question. So describing your community. We do ask about your existing program if you have 3-year-olds enrolled in your program, because those current year 3-year-olds become what? 4-year-olds. And so that can actually show that there is a need for first class pre-K in your actual program. And then we ask you questions about the number of 4-year-olds that are being served, and then how many school systems that your pre-K classroom feed into. And that's school systems and not necessarily schools. So we're not asking you to say, oh, I have children who leave my program and they go into this elementary school and this elementary school. But like if you feed into Montgomery public schools, then that is the system. And then we ask you about how many kindergarten classrooms are present, because we do know for every kindergarten classroom that is present, then it will need a minimum of 18 students who will be going into those kindergarten classrooms. And our goal is to have as many first class pre-K classrooms to support as many kindergarten classrooms it is in any particular area. And that is a lofty goal, but please know that that is an evidence of need. So if you are in an area and there are 50 kindergarten classrooms and there are only 20 first class pre-K classrooms, then that is showing that there is a need for additional classrooms. We want to make sure that every 4-year-old child who or family who wants their child to have this experience, that the access is available to them. So that's actual school systems. And then we ask you about collaboration. Is it part of a community pre-K initiative? And then on this one becomes important because we do ask for you to get a letter from your children's policy council. And then But for some, if you're trying to submit this application for this particular school year, now the Children's Policy Councils are anticipating that they will receive requests to actually have letters written to support first class pre-K classrooms. But sometimes the deadline has passed by which they actually are able to get those letters out. If you do not have a letter or do not have an opportunity to get a letter from your Children's Policy Council, you can still upload 3 letters of support. These letters of support could be from other organizations that you work with. It could be from family members, parents who have actually had children enroll in your program and know that you do an amazing job of providing early learning experiences for young children. So these letters of support can be from multiple resources. For those of you who are in faith-based programs, it could be a letter from your the leader of your church, the pastor who's saying that this will be a wonderful ministry that's added to your church. So those letters of support could come from a number of places. And then we ask you to provide information about your budget, who will be fiscally operating your budget. And these first items here under budget is literally asking us, we're asking you to tell us how you're going to spend the $120,000 if you are the successful applicant. Now, please note that Allison earlier referred you to the guidelines, because in the program guidelines, it gives some very specific information as to the allocation of some of those funding dollars. For example, our first class pre-K teachers are on pay parity with kindergarten teachers, and that is amazing. And we do receive national recognition for the fact that we do have pay parity for first class pre-K teachers. But with that being said, the lead teacher salary is designated in those guidelines. The auxiliary teacher salary is designated in those guidelines. So you would want to make sure that you're using those numbers underneath personnel. Employee benefits, education, equipment, and supplies. We do have a classroom package that's $20,000. So we anticipate that the majority of programs will be ordering that classroom package. So this would be a total of $20,000. So like I said, there's some very specific information that's in those program guidelines that will actually help speak to how that $120,000 is being spent. And then once you put the numbers in these blanks, then we just ask you to write the budget narrative, so that you may say $71,000 is being requested for personnel, $20,000 is being requested for the classroom support. But I do want to take a minute to look at this additional funds, because we do require a 25% match, a supplemental match for first class pre-K. And sometimes when individuals get to this number and they go, I'm requesting $120,000, our program doesn't have $30,000 that we can bring to the table. But this $30,000 is not necessarily $30,000 of cash that you are required to bring. It can be in kind. And for the majority of our programs, that's what it is. It's in kind. It's things that you're either already paying for or benefits that you get from other areas that count as in kind. And I will use the meals and snacks as an example. The majority of our programs are utilizing USDA. So they're using the child nutrition program in order to provide meals and snacks for children. On average, this amount right here by itself for each one of our classrooms is $20,000. So that's already 2/3 of the $30,000, well, 33.333% of the $30,000 that you would then be having to generate. A lot of individuals, like in your classroom programs, you're already paying for facility or utilities. And so a percentage of that then goes into these spaces for in-kind support. We do require that all the children have health screenings. All of those health screenings for all of our programs, that's typically done in kind. So there is a healthcare or a university health nursing department who comes and do those screenings. There is Sorrel Dental or another dental program who will do those. So that information, those screenings alone typically range from $5,000 to $7,500 just for those services, and that's in kind. So those are the numbers and the totals that go toward this 25% match. That is not you having to come to the table with $30,000, but you telling us what other services are available in your program that actually help to meet this match. If you have questions about that, call us. We can walk you through your own individual budget gladly and happily to show you where that 25% supplemental match can be found within your existing structure. And you do not have to bring $30,000 worth of cash to this project. And then at the end, there is information for your electronic signature, and you're identifying that you have read all of this information and you are ready to actually hit submit. So I know that was fast, but we also know that perhaps you have questions, and we want to leave at least a few minutes here in order to be able to answer your questions.
While people start submitting their questions on Q&A, or they can also like raise their hands and I'll try to unmute them if that's easier for them. I just wanted to ask a common question. Since the guidelines say that, you know, children must be admitted through a random drawing, what does that mean for promoting students from the 3-year-old classroom in the center to the 4-year-old classroom?
Fantastic.
Make sure that existing children get in.
Okay, so one of the beauties of this this program is you're also able to have what we call a selection of students based on the proportion of funds that is allocated from first class pre-K and versus the proportion of funds that you actually spend or you bring into the program yourself. So when I was a first class pre-K director, yes, I've been exactly where you are, and I was submitting. So we had our 3-year-olds and they were moving up, and then we have to do random selection. So what if I have 3, 4, 5 children who are not randomly selected? Well, you're able to actually only randomly select the proportion of funds that you actually receive from our department, which will then give you an opportunity to reserve or to have priority for 4, 5, 6 slots, whatever that percentage may happen to be, for your own children who may not actually get randomly selected to enter into your program. So each year I was able to do that, and I never had a year that I had a parent who was currently in our program who did not actually get to come into our existing first class pre-K program. Great question.
We have another question from Nishana Madison, and she asks, after applying and being selected for the funds, how soon will we receive them before school starts?
There is a question in there that asks you if whether or not you would like to receive funds in 4 payments or 3. If you would like to receive funds in 4 payments, which most of us do as community-based organizations, then typically we try to get the first disbursement out in July. So that will actually come prior to the start of the classroom, which then, of course, is typically sometime in August. If you choose to have your funds distributed across the fiscal year, then that means that your funds will actually come to you after October. So it's typically the middle of November and sometimes the first week of December before those funds will actually come to you.
So they'll definitely want to ask to have their funds in 4 payments versus 3.
Absolutely.
Great question. Okay. Any additional questions?
I'm going to put a, this may have already been put in the chat. I'm going to put some contact information for Marcia Jackson, who is the region director, and as well as Tammy Gibson, who is our HR grants manager, and Gay Finn, who is our Office of School Readiness Assistant Director. You can email any and all of those with any specific questions you may have about completion of the first class pre-K funding application. Like I said, we will be happy to answer your specific question. And I do want to note that for the individuals here who are participants in family childcare, if you're a family childcare provider or a family childcare owner. We are currently actually in the process of creating or generating what we will call a pilot for family child care programs, hopefully to be able to join us as first class pre-K family child care homes. So we're really excited about that. That information hopefully will be coming to you soon about how family child care providers can potentially join us in first class pre-K.
I have another question that we commonly get from faith-based providers. You know, they may have faith-based elements throughout their school day and a faith-based curriculum. How would they be able to implement first-class pre-K and meet the first-class pre-K standards and still be faith-based?
That is one of the questions that even I had. I was actually director of a first class pre-K that was also faith-based. And that was the first question our board members ask us is if we apply for this funds, we know that there cannot be this combination of state and religion. How are we going to be able to do this? The first class pre-K day is 6.5 hours. It's a 6.5 hour day. So there are very strategic ways in which you can actually structure your daily schedule to be able to meet the requirement of not necessarily having the two things combined. So sometimes in our program, we would have a chapel at the very beginning of the day before first class pre-K started. We have some individuals who are faith-based who will carve out half an hour in the middle of their day that's not allocated to first class pre-K, and that's their 30 minutes of chapel. We have some people who incorporate it at the end of their day, but there are many different ways that you can actually then still get your Bible curriculum in and still remain in compliance with first class pre-K guidelines.
Dr. Truelove Walker, one more question, and then I'm going to close this out. For the family child care providers, does that mean they should not apply for this grant? They need to wait for the pilot, or should they go ahead and contact you?
They should go ahead and contact me because at least we have your information and your interest as being a part of the pilot when we get ready to roll that out. This right here, this current funding application is specifically for classrooms of 18 children. And so we know that that's not necessarily the case in family child care. Your numbers do not support that. So please contact me, give me your information so that then I can tell you more about, as we move along, what that will look like for the pilot that we're doing with family child care.
Thank you so much, Dr. Truelove Walker. And will you please put your information in the chat as well?
Yes.
So the family providers can talk or can contact you. I'm putting one more thing in the chat and I'm going to turn my video back on. The last thing I ask of you is please join us at the Alabama School Readiness Alliance in advocating to your state legislators. Ask them to support this program. Right now, they're considering a $29 million increase that would have $24 million going to new classroom grants. So that would create more than 200 new classrooms across the state. And we want those to come here in Montgomery. So apply for the funds. And you can even let them know, you can click on our Take Action link, which I put in the chat, and it'll take you to a prompt where you just type in your home address. It's really important to type in your home address so that you can be connected with your own state representative and state senator. And right now we have an action alert live to ask you to contact your state representative because that's where the budget is in the process right now. In fact, the House committee is voting on the budget tomorrow. So please contact your state representative today, and you can edit that email and tell them that you're looking into applying for this funding. So they would really appreciate hearing from you. We do have a couple more questions, and I'm going to go ahead and let Dr. Truelove Walker answer them if she can hang on for 1 or 2 more minutes. And of course, if anyone needs to leave, that's fine. But let's get these questions answered. They're actually in the chat. Do you see them? Or do you want me to-
Yes, I see somebody, you're in the process of getting another location license. Do I wait to apply? You do not have to wait to apply. You can use the information from your current existing location and make application. And then once you're actually in your new location and is licensed, we can do the updates at that point. You do not have to wait to apply if you're relocating.
Okay, perfect. I think that's all the questions. Thank you, and thanks everyone. Please don't hesitate to reach out to the Alabama School Readiness Alliance or to Dr. Trulove Walker and her team at the Alabama Department of Early Childhood. And we will be sending follow-ups with all the links and contact information via email, as well as a recording of this webinar. So don't worry, you'll hear more from me. And we do ask, please join us in advocating for the expansion of this proven program. Thank you, and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Dr. Trulove Walker.